Welcome to my show simply entitled Women Influencers, where you will find inspirational stories of successful women in business. I am Veronica Malolas, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstrata Group of Companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Lisa Woodruff, CEO and founder of Organized 365 and author of the upcoming book, Escaping Quicksand, a remarkable conversation you'd want to listen to. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast.
Well, hi, Lisa. How are you today?
Hi, Veronica. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
No, I'm really excited to have you. And if you don't mind, I'll just jump right in because I'd love to hear your story, how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today. So tell us, Lisa.
Yeah, so it's very easy for me because my environment is the household. So we all have started in the household. And as I was reflecting on this question, such a great question, by the way, when you were asking about childhood, there really were some things I did in my childhood that inform what I'm doing today. I help women get organized so that they have more time to do what they're uniquely gifted and created to do. And I was even doing that as a child. My mom was an artist. And my dad was very organized, but my mom's artistic. So she would have a lot of piles everywhere. And I would give her the gift of organizing her piles as a Christmas gift. And she actually really loved that gift.
Wait, hold on. So as a child, you were already organized?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
me
I was
too. My
loving it.
gosh.
Yes, like
Oh,
jigsaw puzzles. And I babysat for people. And I didn't like to call boys or whatever. So when the kids would take a nap or they go to sleep, I would organize the people's houses. So there was this one family and they stayed out really late and their kids went to bed really early. And one day I was in the kitchen. I was like, I'll just organize where the toys are. You know, how I have like a toy shelf in the kitchen, what was in this big pantry. And once I was done with that shelf, I just did the next shelf, the next shelf, the next shelf. And pretty soon the whole entire pantry was done. Like I'd thrown away their expired products and it was only 10 o'clock and they were out till 1. So I organized the entire kitchen. And then I was like, oh no, she didn't give me permission to organize her house. So when she came home, I was like, Dr. Stover, Mrs. Stover, I organized the kitchen. She was like, great. Next time, can you do the laundry room, the kids' playroom? So it was really, really fun.
I
We're
need
just
you at my house.
yeah, it's so fun. Like what you tend to do for fun as a kid usually informs what you want to do as an adult. So then I was a stay-at-home mom, really loved organizing that phase of life. And then life just kind of got harder in my late 30s and early 40s, and just lots of complexities of life, the global recession, all those things happened. And I really kind of lost myself as I was turning 40. Didn't really remember what I loved to do, didn't have enough money, just felt really like I wasn't, every day felt like Groundhog Day. And I didn't understand how I could live this life for another 60 years if I was going to be 100. And
Mm.
during that time is when I started my company, Organized 365, and I reorganized my house for my next phase of life. Yeah, and just kind of moved on from there.
Wow. And when you actually was going through this phase of Groundhog Day every day,
Yeah.
were you already a mother? I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we were blessed with adoption. We had infertility for a couple of years. And so we ended up having our kids. I had them when I was 28 and almost 30, adopted 2 kids, a boy and then a girl. And I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I was a preschool teacher. And so now I just had like a live preschool classroom. But then when I was 36, my father became ill and my parents got divorced. And then he ultimately passed away. And like I said, we had lost our income and our kids had some extra needs, and they were very, very expensive children. They needed all kinds of medical and educational interventions that we couldn't afford. And I just felt really hopeless. And now that I've been doing this a long time, I realize that a lot of us get to this point at our end of our 30s or usually in our 40s, whether you have children or not, actually, it happens either way, where the decisions you made in your early 20s and early 30s create obligations in your 30s and 40s that you're still paying on. Like
Oh
we
yeah.
got a house, so you still have the mortgage. We had children, they have expensive needs. You have a dog, they have needs, and it's like every single thing you add to your list brings on more and more responsibilities. And what happens in this time, at least for me and other people have told me through their lived experience, is you lose yourself. Because I mean, you have to take care of children and dogs and spouses and houses. And so you give up more and more and more of your own free time So I think the thing I was really craving when I was turning 40 was just to have something that was just for me again. Like I couldn't
Oh
figure out
yeah.
how to provide self-care. I knew how to do childcare and elder care and spousal care, but I had no idea what it was like to have self-care anymore.
Yeah. So, and how did you kind of discover self-care? Did you have to go and join a group? Did you start reading, watching, I don't know, YouTube? How did you get there?
Yeah, so I tried all the normal things, right? So I yelled at my husband and said he should give me more time. And then
Yeah.
he should let me have time for myself. Or he would come home, I was like, here are the kids. And I would like go to Target and get a coffee. It didn't work. Or I'd take a hot bath. It didn't work. And so I changed my environment. I got organized in my 40s, started my company. That gave me a lot of, like mission and goal oriented professional development. But it wasn't until I turned 50 and my kids were actually now grown when I went back to get my PhD, and I was in a class, and it was a life stages class. And I had learned life stages when I was going back to school to be a school teacher. Well, there aren't really adult life stages for women. Like at the time I was going through menopause, I'm like, well, surely menopause is a phase of life because puberty is, and menopause is the inverse of that. And they're like, no, it's not. And I was like, on what planet is menopause not a phase of life? And that's when I realized that we define care by taking care of children or taking care of elders. And then we think self care is a bubble bath or a spa day. No, self care is you have to take care of yourself like your parents took care of you or like you would take care of your parents from the time you're like 18 until whenever you need somebody to step in and take care for you, which means that you have to take care of your physical health, your wellness, your food, your laundry. I wasn't doing that. I was not even prioritizing my basic needs. But in addition to that, self-care is also providing for your educational and your professional development and your emotional and your spiritual needs. So that is how I define self-care now.
No, I love that. And as a matter of fact, so I've shared with you that I'm turning 63 this year.
Yes.
And I really do connect with everything that you just said here. And
Mm.
also because, I'm a very organized person like you are. And I see things that way, that
Yeah.
sometimes I compartmentalize, what is a priority for my kids, my husband, my household, my career, and then myself, right? So I love what you just said, and I mean it just encapsulated everything that I think that, for instance, our audience is probably not even aware of. So thank you. I really
Yeah.
love that. So tell me a little bit about challenges. If there was
Okay.
one challenge that came to mind that you overcame, what would that be?
So, in writing my book that's coming out this year called Escaping Quicksand, I kind of deconstructed how did I put myself back on the list? How did I learn to care for myself and not feel like it was selfish? Like you could do everything I just said and you'd be like, okay, I'll do it, but it's selfish because I'm doing it for me and I'm not doing it for someone else. And in writing the book, I realized that the very first time I ever did something for myself that I knew was selfish, but it was self-care, was when my dad became ill and ultimately passed away, and I was the executor of his estate when I was 36. We didn't have the time and the money for me to be driving 4 hours each way to go home and see him and leave my kids who were in middle school with my husband, and they had all these needs. But I knew that if I didn't go home, if I didn't see my dad every possibility I could, if I didn't have that time with my sister, my relationship with her and my personal emotional well-being would be irreparably harmed. So I did it anyway. Like I let my family suffer because I knew that my needs at that time, my self-care at that time was really to spend as much time as I could with my dad. And so in reflecting, 20 years later, I now see that, oh, when push came to shove and it was that important, it was literally life or death, I could put myself on the list of priorities and not worry about my family. And so I now look at self care as this: we must take care of ourselves so that we could take care of others. If I hadn't taken care of my own needs, I now would not be as well of a mother and grandmother as I am for my family because I would have that trauma that I had not put my own needs first. It's not about putting one person's needs over another person's needs, but it is that your needs have to be met as well as other people's needs. And if you have to meet them, then you need to meet your needs first so that you can meet other people's needs as well.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Because
Mhm.
if you do not fill yourself first,
Yes.
then you can't pour into someone else. and it just drains the life out of you, and before you know it, it just causes all kinds of negativity, not just for yourself but for the person that you're caring for. I mean, I totally agree with you on that. I love that you built a community, and I want to talk about influence.
Okay.
If there was one impact that you had an influence on that you're most proud of, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say it's the organized 365 community. As a child, I didn't have a lot of friends. I remember telling my mom at one point, I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends. And she said, when you're older, you will have more friends. And when I was writing the book, Escaping Quicksand, and I was thinking about, when I was 36 and 37 and 38, and just felt like life was getting harder and harder and harder. And I was not, hitting rock bottom and bouncing back up again. I was actually sinking deeper and deeper into quicksand. I just felt like it was going to swallow me whole. I realized that when you look to your left and you look to your right, all of your sisters in life are also sinking in their own quicksand. It's not like I'm the only one experiencing this and everyone else is fine. No, we're all experiencing this. And we feel like we have to, put our best face forward for other people. We need to be self sacrificing. But really, what we need is for other people to be able to tell our story and for people to say, yeah, that is really, really hard. Now, here's how we're going to get out of the quicksand. And we have those communities where we could say, okay, this is really hard, and we commiserate with each other, or we're able to take a spa day, but there isn't really a step by step, like, how do you go from overwhelmed to back in control of your life? So that's why I really went through and I was like, okay, what are the steps I took over the course of a decade that you could do over the course of a couple of weeks when you read the book, and deconstructed it that way. And a few years ago for our group, I took it off of Facebook, and I have a private app, an Organized 365 app. I did that for a couple reasons. Number one, some people didn't want to be on Facebook, and I thought it was unfair that they couldn't be in the community because they chose not to be on that platform. But number two, when you're sharing things about getting organized, which is vulnerable, or settling in a state, or caring for your parents, um, I don't like that that gets put into an algorithm,
Yeah.
when you're on a social media platform. And also, what if you share something and you think you're sharing it in the group, but you accidentally share it on your page, and now you've put your dirty laundry out for everybody to see on Facebook? And I was like, I just want a place where people feel there's no algorithm, there's no way that their family could hear what they have to say so that they could be more vulnerable together. So that would probably be the thing I'm most proud of influencing.
Well, I love that. And I'm sure that the influence that you have, the positive influence that you have in your community resonates, right? And probably just multiplies. And so tell me about that community. I mean, how many people are belong there? What are the kind of what are the types of people that actually have benefited from this community?
So, when you go to build a website, and you can build like a membership site, or you can have like your podcast show notes, or you can have a shop, or like a website can do so many things. It's like somebody showed me that, and I was like, yes. And I just checked every single box. So I break all the websites that we have because I'm a teacher, and like teachers use every resource at their disposal. So our app does a lot of things. When you get in there, there's like a general group that people can just join, and I go live in there most days. I just share whatever's on Instagram over there. So you don't have to follow me on Instagram. It'll be over there. We do some free challenges, but that's also where all of our courses are. So we have people in the Sunday basket and other things. And I think we have 11 or 12,000 people inside of the app.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about influence here, and that's
Yeah.
amazing because you certainly can impact that
Mhm.
big, you know, population,
Yeah.
and of course you have that ripple effect into to everyone's lives. I just love that. Congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
How long have you had this community?
So let's see. The company is 14 years old. We moved off of Facebook, I think, 4 years ago.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, Lisa. I
Yeah.
I just love that. I wanted to
Thank you.
ask you about advice. If there was one piece of advice that you can give to our audience today, what would that be?
Well, I love that you said you're about to have your 63rd birthday. Happy birthday, by the way.
You?
I am 53, and so I'm a decade behind you. we were talking a little bit before we started recording. In my 20s, I was just trying so much to get acclimated to a new city and make friends. And in my 30s and 40s, raise my children and give them everything that I could, and then get myself out of the quicksand. And I could never, I, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid and when I was thinking about my future, like I always thought I'll live to be 100. But then I was like, life stops at 40. Like, I don't know what I thought happened at 40, but because I was so focused on getting married and having kids, I was like, and then at 40, you have kids. I never thought about the kids even leaving home or any of that. I just thought about the parenting of the kids. And so I realized when I turned 40, I really didn't have a picture of what my life from 40 to 100 would be like if I'm blessed to live that long. And now that I'm in my 50s, I just want to tell all of you that are in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, oh my gosh, you're going to have so much time. You're not even going to know what to do with all your time. I remember when my daughter had her son, and I was turning 50, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get my PhD in applied psychology. And my husband's like, what? And I was like, I have so much time. I had like 40 hours a week that I didn't know what to do with. And I was working full time and helping with the grandchild a lot. And I was like, this would be the perfect time. And if I did it by the time I get my PhD, which I'll have this summer, my grandson will be ready to go to kindergarten. Oh my gosh, it was perfect timing. You need about 25 hours per week to get a PhD. I blocked it out on my calendar and I've done it. And now, as the PhD is coming to an end, I'm like, what else am I going to do? This is in addition to traveling and being a very active grandmother and all the, you have so much time. And it's not that you don't use it and you're not busy. It's just you have more discretion over what you use that time for. And you also have increased your capacity by living through your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And you've developed good mindset, good communities, and good strategies in order to get the most out of your days. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have time. You're gonna have
Oh,
time, people.
that's awesome. That's like a light at the end of the tunnel for a lot
Yeah,
of the younger audience. I
yeah.
think it's so overwhelming. A lot of times, people ask about how, for instance, I manage my time, and let me tell you, being organized, uh, naturally organized, does help because it's not a skill that everybody has. So yes, it is a gift, but it could be learned too, right?
I'm so glad you said that because the first research we did in 2021, and I've done 4 waves of this study, and I asked the question, do you believe organization is a learnable skill? And Americans overwhelmingly say yes. Either 85 to 87% of people believe organization is a learnable skill. Here's the thing, nobody's teaching organization. They're
Yeah.
teaching decoration, they're teaching about containers. Organized 365 actually teaches the skill, as a teacher would, of how to become an organized person, think like an organized person.
I absolutely love that, Lisa. So, let me just say, I think we've come to the portion of our interview where you get to ask me a question. So I'm excited. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I was going to talk about this. I didn't really, about how the household is the economic unit. The American household is the economic unit that really the whole entire world runs on. 86% of US GDP spending is household managers spending. So literally how we spend money, the whole entire house, the whole entire company world runs on. So my question to you is, have you, as a business owner, applied any of the principles from being a business owner into how you manage your household?
Well, yes, and thank you for that question. That's a great question. Not, I mean, it's very different from the type of questions that I get from my 100 plus guests. But I'll tell you that, of course, strategically and being intentional
Mhm.
is a business sort of acumen, right? That you can apply to your household, which I do. We are quite intentional and we're organized, and we have a calendar driven life, and that's all good. But the thing about the difference between the household and a business is that you can't really apply KPIs, right? It's not a business where you have different metrics that you can apply, that you can measure and improve. Because at the end of the day, your household is filled with people that you love. That is actually mostly an emotional based sort of environment where you have to be
Mhm.
so intentional as you are in business, right? Intentional in the way that you sort of love on them and you care for them, talking about caring for people, and also in deriving sort of the respect and the care that you also need from them. And so communication is key, which you apply in business
Mhm.
for sure, because with poor communication, you really can't get, like for me, I do commercial real estate, and so it's so important that I'm a good communicator to be able to cross the finish line. But in your household, obviously, that's even more important, and certainly is probably the most sort of ignored. And all of a sudden, people's feelings are hurt because you do not
Mhm.
know how to communicate effectively. But at the same time, being intentional in doing that and getting better at that, and on loving on your family, I think is key, right? And that's what I've been trying to do for the last maybe 10 years, because like you said, you go through stages,
Yeah.
and there are stages where in the beginning I just was struggling so much with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I think I've gotten better. And again, those are learned skills as well. So thank you for that question. I love it. I love it. I think we have just a few more minutes for you to tell us, if my audience wanted to connect with you, how would they do that?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. So I have a podcast also called Organize 365, and I have a new book coming out this year called Escaping Quicksand. So if you go to escapingquicksand.com and you get the book, if you pre-order the book, then you can join our book club for free. So we're going to take one chapter every week out of the book. I'm going to give you the audio, and then we in the community are going to go through and experience that chapter and then implement it before the book is even launched. We're going to have all these people who have already experienced the book and implemented it at the same time. So I'm super excited about that extra bonus.
Yeah, I love that. And certainly for anyone out there, I mean, including myself, I would love to kind of learn a little bit more about organization and escaping the quicksand. Well, Lisa, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today and for sharing your insights and giving such great golden nuggets out there for our audience. And I wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.